Good morning, guys. It's Laurie of Laurie's Sewing, and today is Monday, February 15th of 2021, and we're still covered up in snow. It looks like it's on its way out. I know a lot of you are about to experience this weird winter weather, and all I can say is, it won't last forever. So I wanted to let you know that I did finish the satin skirt with the net overlay, I guess we'll call it that. It's view C of the Easy McCall 7526 pattern. I did have to make a mock-up for her because she's smaller than the small size range. And we also wanted to make the satin skirt longer. So on her, longer was 31 inches and the overlay is 32 inches. So I will show that to you in just a minute. I wanted to give her the extra buttons and some thread. So I'm going to show you how I do that. This is just a little container that came with a purple carrot prepared meal, I guess. I don't have purple carrot, but my daughter does. And she gave me a full meal to try. By the way, it was good, but I'm not affiliated and I'm not sponsored. Nothing to do with them other than the fact that this is one of the containers. It was white miso paste and it went into the meal. And I'm not going to throw this away. I don't throw stuff like this in the garbage. So what I'm going to do is use this to give to Jessica. So she'll have her 3 extra buttons, and I'm going to make a thread card. This is a card that I don't have an envelope for. It's just kind of been hanging out. So my plan is to take some glue stick glue, whoops, and I'm going to cut this card. I guess first things first, I'll cut it in half. It just needs to be a little sturdier than this paper. The paper is slightly lighter than cardstock and a little bit heavier than just your normal paper. So I'm going to cut this and cut this, and I'm not doing like a super straight cut. But I want the card to fit in here. So next I'm going to trace around, and I'm trying to maintain the bird emblem there. So I'm just going to put this right on the corner. This is a heat erase pen, just in case I end up needing to erase it. But I'm going to cut on the inside of the line that I just drew, because obviously it needs to be smaller than what I traced to fit in that this container. Oh, I wasn't watching what I was doing and I cut a little bit too deep. Okay, so let's see. Yep, that will fit. So I'm going to straighten it up a little bit, like so. And then I want to glue two pieces of this together. Okay, when I'm doing gluing like this, I will glue both sides. I want it to dry just a little bit for extra tackiness. Okay, and then I will put those two together. They will stick pretty quick, so there we go. I think I need a little extra right here. And I mean, you could use, you know, any kind of glue that you might have on hand. All right, now I'm going to trim around like so. I literally, I just wanted a little extra to the little thread card that I'm making, which is why I'm gluing two together for that extra strength. Like so. Okay. And I'm just going to take a triangle shape out like that, and then on the over here, kind of opposite at an angle, like so. And this is the thread that I used to sew the buttons on. Then I'm going to just take my scissors and cut like so and pull the thread up through that and trim it off. So that is the thread, and I can just drop that in there with the buttons, and there we go. The other thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of the fabric in here so she'll know this is the little kit for that skirt. Okay, and I'll show you the skirt right now. Okay, and then for the top, I'm going to cover up where it says white miso paste, allergen, soy, and make a top label. I'm going to have to redo it, so thankfully I'm using friction ink. I can erase the boo-boo line. Okay, I'll try that again. So let's see what's in my little needle case, sewing case. I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was thinking to myself, I should find out what other people keep in theirs. So, alright, so in mine I have some butterfly chalk, seam ripper, clover clip, needle threader, notes about what I was doing, and this was a buttonhole guide that I made for that skirt. So I can actually use this for something else now. It's done. Let's see, I have a pack of large eye sewing needles that I'm keeping in the pack, the Richard Hemming. Okay, this is a little floss winder, which I'm keeping in there. And I used the clover clip to hold the needle threader to the outside of a pocket because I can use that clover clip. Actually, I prefer to do it this way. This. And if I'm taking these with me, the handle of my scissors will fit onto this part of the clover clip for extra I won't fall out ability. See how they did. Yep, they're still in there. And then these are just some little added things that I like to have with me. Seam ripper, clover chalk, and I have huge eye needle, some large needles here. This one's actually in the wrong place. This is a needle with a smaller eye. And then I have just some pins. And I typically keep the plastic pins that I have in here because if I'm sewing somewhere else by hand, I'm not likely going to need to use an ironing board. Sometimes I do, but I feel a little bit safer using my plastic head pins because I'm not likely going to be pressing over them and melting them into my project. Okay, so there's that. Now, sometimes when I'm home, I will keep my small embroidery scissors like these on my needle keep like this. Okay, so next on the agenda is the baby outfits. Yay! But I did want to update you on this. This is still a whip. I'm not done yet, but it is definitely in progress. So I'm almost done. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half of the buttons to finish up, and it will be ready for my kitchen. It's getting close. Next up will be our baby outfit, and we'll get started on that in just a minute. Now, for our baby boy outfit, I purchased 2 pieces of Speckler Vogel Imperial Batiste, and this is the baby blue. It has been washed and drip dried. I didn't want to throw it in the dryer. I did trim all the raw edges with my pinking shears. There is another video where I open this on camera. It was covered in dirt. It was cut so poorly that I am shocked. Trying to find that spot. It's right here. This right here was just a jagged edge, which you can see in the original video when I open up the 2 pieces of fabric, that both came from different shops in Los Angeles. I ordered them on Amazon, and I guess that's where they came from. So this is the baby blue Imperial Batiste Speckler Vogel, and this is the white Imperial Batiste Speckler Vogel, and they've both been washed and the raw edges trimmed. This one was not filthy and was cut definitely by someone who is familiar with how to cut out fabric. But it does have somewhere, I haven't checked it since I washed it, there was a stain close to one of the edges. I think it was one of the selvage edges. So as I'm cutting out the fabric, I will definitely be aware to keep an eye out for that. And it may have washed out. It's just, it looked like water, like it had been maybe close to or near something that was wet. So what I did is I washed both in extremely hot water with white vinegar. I did not put any soap or detergent into the wash. And then I did not dry them in the dryer. I will let you know, my machine is the type that will weigh the objects being washed, and I did wash them separately because not only was this one absolutely filthy, covered in dirt and dust, it was also covered in glitter. So I wanted to wash them separately in case the glitter came out of this and into the water. I didn't want it to embed itself in the white fabric. That would have driven me insane. So it looks like it came out okay. I don't see any glitter hanging out. I might actually, well, probably what I'll do is just roll it with, they tend to stick together, with my little rolly things. You can see there's still some dirt and dust on there. But anyway, so that's what this is. Washed, ready, ready to go. All right. This is our pattern. It is McCall's Express Yourself 3063, and all of the sizes are in one envelope. This particular one is, it says all sizes in one envelope. It does not say on the front what those sizes are. So if you're curious, you would have to look on the back. And I am going to make a note of that across the top of my pattern, because when I look at my patterns in the pattern box over there, I don't want to have to pull it out and flip it over and look at that information on the back. I want to be able to see it, you know, on the front. So I think, you know, there's a little bit more room right here. Okay. So that's going to be a big, there's a big enough gap there that I know that somewhere between the newborn size and the large size, if I have something in the middle, I will be able to cobble something together. Okay, I've already cut out all the pattern pieces that I'm going to need to make the two views that I'm interested in making. And those pattern pieces will stay in this Ziploc bag with the instructions on how to do this. The pieces I do not need will stay in this envelope. I don't need to see them. I don't need to see the numbers. I don't need anything about them. And while it's handy to have the pattern envelope to refer to, I still don't need the contents. So every single thing I feel like I'm going to need from start to finish at this point will be in this bag. And that is not to say that I'm not going to keep the pattern envelope in the front. So when I'm done sewing or done working on whatever I plan to do that particular day, I will just put this in the front, and then when I come back to the sewing room, I can see exactly what it is and know that this is what I'm working on in that moment. So, while I'm working on it, however, I will remove this because it gets in the way and I don't need it. So I'm just going to set that over here. Now, the other thing about me and my weird ideas about things, it works for me. I don't know if it will work for you, but when I'm sewing with a pattern, I always make sure that my pattern pieces are folded in such a way that I can just dump them out of whatever bag I'm using, like so, and I don't have to unfold them to see the pattern number. So if I need pattern piece number 3 or pattern piece number 11, here, I'll hold that where you can see it, or 15 or 16 or whatever, I don't have to unfold all these pattern pieces to locate that number. Everything is folded with the numbers facing out. So I'm all set, ready to go. I'm going to move the camera so you can see a little bit better. Now, piece number 12, I did go over this in my last video. I'll just do a quick rundown. Piece number 12 is sized. So there are 3 or 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern piece number 12 that go to the 2 views that I will be making. The reason there are 4 is because we have the medium, the infant, the newborn, medium, small, newborn, and large. Okay, so for our purposes, I don't want to, in this case, before I've cut out any of my fabric, I don't want to have to go, I didn't get the right one. So before I cut anything out, I just keep multi-piece sections together. So if I have 4 of one piece like this, then I fold them all together and put them in here. Now that I'm going to be cutting out of the fabric, I will pick the one out that I need. So I'm going to be doing the newborn, which is right here. Now, because I know I'm not doing small, medium, or large, I can now fold these up, number out where I can find it, like so, and put it in the envelope, which I put behind me. Okay, all right. And again, if I need to find this, the pattern pieces are folded in such a way that I can just quickly see the number and go, okay, that's the one I need. So in they go. Often pattern pieces that I've not cut out will be in here, and I try to make them neat and tidy, but I figure I don't need to waste my time doing that until I need those pattern pieces. And in this particular case, I'm not making a long christening gown. I don't need these pattern pieces. Now, should I decide that I'm going to do a bonnet, because each of the 2 little boy views does show a bonnet, it's the same bonnet. E and F are the masculine version of the bonnet, and I don't know yet if I'm going to be making the bonnet, but we'll just leave those pattern pieces in the envelope unless I change my mind, in which case I'll then get them out, cut them out, and then I'll have them. And from that moment on, they will go in the Ziploc bag. Okay, so there are 8 pages of instructions. The very first one will have, I've already numbered them. Each of the pages has a number. They will go 1, 3, 5, and 7 because they are printed on both sides. So 1 is also 2. So we're going to look at this and determine what we need. We know we're doing E and F. I can only do one at a time, so we might as well start with E. E is the version that has the little jacket. And we're going to make it the shorter pants. We don't need long pants on a baby in Alabama in June. So they will be the bubble rather than the romper. Okay, so this is all for up to E. All right, so for E or F, we will be cutting out some interfacing, and we're also going to cut out the rompers and bonnet. I don't want the bonnet. So what I'm going to do is write on this section right here where it shows me the layout. I don't need certain pieces. So for the bonnet, I do not need piece 22. I do not need piece 23. And I do not need piece 24. Now that my pattern pieces have been traced and marked and trimmed, it's time to lay out the pattern pieces on the fabric. So I'm trying to decide here, do I want to lay it out exactly the way it shows here? I do absolutely want to have the raw edges on the outer sides, the fold, and the selvages. But I'm battling static electricity, and I also want to try to preserve as much of that fabric as I possibly can. So even though I've got it now, it's folded exactly the way the pattern showed. Now I've switched it here. So I have the fold out toward the window, and I don't really have enough fabric folded over. I need to cut 2 of almost everything, and I need a little bit more width. So I'm gauging that. I'm looking at the pattern pieces that I have left to place. This piece right here is just not, it's at the very end of my piece of fabric, and I'm supposed to have enough room at the bottom. There's just because I've had to line them up, there's just not enough room. So I make some changes, and thankfully I did. I'm going to switch my fabric around, and I'm going to give myself a bit more fold. I'm still fighting a massive amount of static electricity. It was a really cold day, a lot of snow on the ground, and a lot of dry air in the house. So I'm fiddling and I'm fiddling and I'm straightening and I'm fixing and I'm fiddling some more, and now I'm going to check the warp and the weft, and want to make sure that all the lines are straight and everything is looking like it's supposed to look. I don't want anything misaligned, but this is definitely better than what I had. So I've got my little sleeve, I'm pinning that down. Got to have 2. And I know that sleeve looks huge, but there is a 1-inch hem, and it will be gathered. So anyway, now I'm doing one of the pant legs. This will be the bubble. So I'm using View F pants to make View E. And I will be using View F pants to make View F as well, because you do not put a baby in long pants in June in Alabama. Okay. So now I'm just talking about making sure, if you have a pattern piece that is grayed out, you want to make sure that you flipped it over. It has to do with the right side and the wrong side of your fabric, and we'll talk about that sometime when I've got a print fabric that has a definite right side or a wrong side. Okay, get this pinned. Got a couple more pieces that I can fit now because I had extra width, and I'm starting to realize that this piece is not the piece that's supposed to go where they're showing a piece, and I'm wondering, what did I do? Did I misplace one? Did I leave one out? I'm going to check and see what that pattern number is. Oh my goodness gracious, merciful me. I forgot to cut out one of the pieces. So I finally realize it, and I begin to spend some time looking for that pattern piece, and I'm so grateful that even though for the most part these are folded with those pattern numbers face out, a lot of the pieces that I've not cut out yet won't be folded that way. So I have to spend this time unfolding, checking, refolding, making sure I get the pattern piece outside, or the number, excuse me, the number. Oh dear, which is this? I don't know. This right here is why I don't allow myself the luxury of just stuffing my pattern pieces back in the envelope. I try very hard not to. It can just about drive you crazy. So I finally find the piece, cut it out, trace it. I'm just tracing it this time rather than using my tracing wheel. And as you can see, I can easily see through that tracing paper. For every single line, I've not had any issues. It doesn't tear under my pencil. Now I wouldn't erase anything, so if you feel like you're going to be making a mistake, use a friction pin, because you can just iron it right off and you won't leave behind anything that isn't, I mean, you will see a shadow line from a friction pin. That heat erase ink will definitely leave a shadow on paper, but it's not going to be a big, huge deal. Okay, now I'm cutting this little piece out, and there we go. Now I can put it where it's supposed to go. It is supposed to have 2 pieces cut. Lots and lots of pins to keep the static from causing problems, which it really was. The pattern pieces were just literally skating around on that fabric. Now that little piece had to be turned over so that the wrong side of the pattern piece was facing the fabric, because it's supposed to be placed on the fold. That's the front of the little garment. Okay, that is basically almost everything. That's a leg band that goes around the little legs. Okay, we're talking about flipping pattern pieces over. Right. And I also didn't want to leave, I didn't want the leg band to have a lot of selvage, because that fabric is very tightly woven. Now that right there is the collar, and I have to cut 4. So that is why I decide to use the other side of the fabric, on the other side of the selvage. Okay, and then I just start cutting out, and I decided to use my scissors because I just feel like I have a little bit better control. I'm not worried that I'm going to accidentally cut into a piece of, another pattern piece. And I did squinch them up pretty tight to each other to preserve as much of my fabric as I could. So you just trim everything and cut everything, and I did make my little divots. Okay. Just really do the best you can. That's a facing right there. That'll be interesting to show you how that goes. And the front is an interesting piece. It has a little jacket that you attach, so that'll be fun. And I do need to order the buttons. There are some notions I don't have. I did order the double face satin ribbon that's supposed to arrive sometime in the next couple days. I don't know, based on the snow and all that's been happening across the nation. Today is February 16th of 2021. I recorded this video on February the 15th of 2021. And in the last 24 hours, the weather across the nation has been pretty bad. I mean, there are some serious situations going on. So if I don't receive those notions, I can still do a huge majority of the sewing without the buttons or the satin ribbon. Okay, so now I'm cutting out one of the little vest front pieces. Well, both of them. I'm cutting them out on two in one. Cut 2. Okay. And then for the collar, what I'll do is, is I'll cut out kind of loosely around the collar, and then I'm going to place it down again, and then be a little bit more picky about how I'm going to cut that out. I wanted you to see a pretty blue sky with a pretty dandelion, just to remind you that summer will soon be here. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.